I'm joined by Victorian Liberal MP Katie Allen, who's actually in Adelaide tonight, which is interesting, Katie, because you're in South Australia when they've just whacked a ban on Melburnians from midnight tonight based on just 10 cases in Victoria, all linked to hotel quarantine. Has the Liberal Premier in South Australia, Stephen Marshall, panicked and gone too far, overreached yet again?
Well, Chris, we have seen that there's this outbreak in Victoria, which is very concerning, obviously. And what is concerning is we want to make sure that we mop up the mess that happens. And so getting on the front foot and doing the right amount of contact tracing to get this under control. I've always been someone who's been very clear that hotspots is the way to work. And obviously Melbourne is being regarded as a hotspot by South Australia. So let's see where this goes. It's moving quite fast, which is concerning. And the most important thing Australians want to hear is that the governments are enacting the services they need to do to keep Australians safe. And that means proper quarantining and proper contact tracing so that Australians can get back to work quicker.
Look, Daniel Andrews obviously got carried away yesterday saying he had the best hotel quarantine system in the country. He's got infections now. There's a total of 10, but they're all linked to hotel quarantine. Now, you're a medico. You know this area. That should be reassuring to people. Yet here you have a state already throwing up hard borders to 5 million people in the Melbourne area.
Well, what's interesting particularly about this hotel quarantining is that the Chief Health Officer has said that it's related, they think, to this a nebuliser. And what a nebuliser is it takes medication for people who are on asthma often and adds water to it and puts it into droplets so it can be more easily inhaled. And it looks like this has been a really bad combination, presumably with someone who already has COVID, and that COVID has therefore got mixed up with the nebuliser product and then become aerosolised or got into the general air. Now, what's interesting is that this person, I'm interested to know whether they've had symptoms that suggest that they might have had to go to hospital and why they've been staying in a hotel and having nebuliser treatment. So there's not a lot of clarity around that, but it is concerning that this one nebuliser seems to be causing such a big outbreak. And certainly the government, the Victorian state government, has said that anyone who's been in this Holiday Inn in the last 14 days for even 15 minutes should quarantine and get tested. Again, there's not a lot of clarity around that. Definitely they need to get tested, but if they were in the hotel 14 days ago, does that mean that it's 14 days later? So I think if I was someone who'd been to this Holiday Inn, I would definitely go and get tested and then seek advice about what their quarantining requirement is, because all Melburnians, in fact, the whole of Australia is always watching these outbreaks with, almost morbid interest. We want to get it under control as quickly as possible, and out of abundance of caution, we should do the contact tracing of anyone who's been to that particular site. And I think that's a good step, a strong step taken to try and control this outbreak in Victoria.
Well, lucky you got to Adelaide today, because as of midnight tonight, you wouldn't be allowed in. Just finally, Greg Hunt at his Twitter feed, is it a problem for him to whack a Liberal logo on news announcements on his Twitter feed?
Who knows what is behind anyone's particular Twitter feed, but what I would say is that it's important that the Australian taxpayer money is going to the right place at the right time. And I would say, and I've said this before, I think Greg Hunt is actually the best health minister Australia's ever seen, and I'd say most Australians would probably say the world has ever seen. He's done an amazing job. He's worked tirelessly through an amazing response to the pandemic, and Australians should feel very comfortable and confident in someone like Greg Hunt, our health minister.
OK, well, at least you didn't call me a lefty. Thanks for joining us, Katie Allen. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Katie Allen, Federal Liberal MP, speaking to us from Adelaide. And if you haven't heard the news, Melburnians banned from South Australia from midnight tonight because of the hotel quarantine cases.